I understand that we have been accused of police brutality at the National Hall. This is not true. There has not ever been any police brutality at the National Hall. I feel that we have a right to defend ourselves. We have never taken up a club or anything in this manner and started beating people with it. We don't do that. We're not that kind of people out here. And if these people want to investigate me or my officers, their background, they're welcome to do so. I invite them to do it. At any time they want to come to my office and talk with me, I'll be happy to talk with them.
Court hearing examiner Robert Lloyd says he's going to ask for a conference of all the governments involved to discuss the legalities of this question. The conference will likely be in a month here in this general area. Here in Garland, this is Teal Salaun reporting for Channel 8 News on the Move. Dallas City Water Director Henry Graeser is asking that the North Central Texas Council of Governments be given the authority to control the development of sewage and septic tanks around Lake Ray Hubbard. His request was the purpose of a hearing here this morning in the Garland City Council chambers by the Texas Water Quality Control Board. After the hearing, Graeser told me why he feels the development of Lake Ray Hubbard is so unusual.
Well, I think that our youth is naturally the future of the whole wide world. And when youth is interested in doing something, earning something, contributing something to society by working and knowing what the value of a dollar is and how to spend it, I think that's the most exciting approach that youth can have to life. And boy, more power to it. I think it's fabulous.
You haven't given up on the youth of our country, then?
No, I sure haven't. I get to travel around the country a great deal, and I speak for the Cancer Society to young people about not smoking, and I also am involved with mental health with young people. And I think they're great. They're a swinging, groovy mass of kids. They're far more educated than we think they are. And when you see kids like this that are eager to take what they've got up here and put it into something so that it'll earn and it'll contribute to America, wow, I think that's just great.
Mr. Bush has commented that along the line of campaigning, you've said the things that you are for and you've never said the things that you are against. I mean, rather, that you've said the things that you are against and not say anything about the things that you are for. Just what are you for?
Well, that's Mr. Bush's version of it. I've been campaigning on issues throughout this campaign, stating the things I agreed with and what I stood for and things I disagreed with. I've been an issue-oriented candidate. I think, for example, on this question of two Republican senators, we have a good quote from 1966 when the Honorable John Towers said that we need a voice in both party councils in the United States Senate. Now, if that was true in 1966, I'm sure it must be just as true in 1970.
Michael Joseph Paprskar went on trial for his life today in Fort Worth for the slayings of Daniel Ramirez Sr. Ramirez was killed along with his 4-year-old son, Daniel Jr., and Sammy Ramirez Jr. Other members of the slain Ramirez family were in court today as Paprskar was seated with his attorney. Two brothers, Harold Frederick Anderson and Donald Lloyd Anderson, along with Paprska's wife, Bunny, are charged with the murders of the Ramirez trio. The slaying allegedly occurred after Daniel Ramirez Sr. had sold the defendant, Michael Paprskar, some impure heroin. Jury selection is expected to take several days. Cochise Cash, Channel 8 News, from Fort Worth.
Then what do you think the major issues will be in November between you and Bentsen?
I think the issue is going to be who can be the most effective United States Senator for Texas, given the philosophical beliefs that I have, which I think are compatible with a broad number of Texans, the most vast majority of Texans. All right, how do you get something done for these views? Do you get it done by perpetuating the status quo in the Democratic Party, or do you try some new ideas and some new answers? Now, that's part of it, and then getting something done for Texas, being effective. That's far more important than party label, and that's what I think the issue is going to be. They recommended a tariff which was designed to break the price of domestic crude. In my view, that would have resulted in a higher, oddly enough, price of gasoline, but it would also result in tremendous weakening of our national security and a tremendous weakening of the Texas economy. We had it estimated 460,000 people would have been thrown out of work if this was put into effect. So a lot of what I talked about was the need to beat down that proposal. It has been defeated so far. It hasn't been put into effect. But I'm now considering legislation in the Ways and Means Committee that will see that no tariff is ever imposed on oil if that tariff is solely designed to bust the price of domestic oil, of domestic crude. It would be bad for Texas, it would be bad for jobs in Texas, but worse, it would be bad for the security of the United States.
Well, heretofore, we've been guided in the use of firearms by the state statutes. We have had nothing in writing that's a policy in this regard. This will prepare for the officers in the field some guidelines for the use of firearms. This goes into the purpose of the directive when firearms are permitted under state statute. It goes into departmental policy statements, which restricts the use of firearms in some cases, and then the intent of this directive, which is what we're trying to get across to the officers, as well as some new investigative procedure techniques that we'll be following in the future. As I've stated before publicly, we will, in the future, take all cases involving shootings to the grand jury, whether death results or not. What we're trying to do with this order is simply to cut down on any unnecessary shootings. Now, the officers are permitted by state statute to use firearms under certain conditions, and this we expect. But where there may be some doubt, we're trying to eliminate that doubt on the part of the officers now so that there will not be any unnecessary shooting on the part of any of our officers.
We have not compiled or formalized our findings at this point. We hope to do so in the near future. I wish I could tell you a little more closely than that, but this is an area that obviously can't be handled in a matter of minutes or hours or days.
How is this committee made up? Of whom is its membership composed?
It's composed of a number of groups in the city who are interested in services to children, and a number of individuals, simply as interested citizens, as I am. I, as an individual, am in the group.
Thus far, have you found indications that Dallas County indeed is not receiving adequate child welfare or general welfare services?
We're not prepared at this point to give any such statement at all, Mr. Ayers. Perhaps later on we'll be able to make some statement on that score.
We've finished our planning phase. On last Friday, we had a formal board meeting at which time the basic business plan was approved by the board of directors. And we're, in the next weeks and months, we'll be actively pursuing universities as well as their faculty for interaction with Alpha. And we would, if our projections hold true, Alpha system should be become profitable sometime in late 72 or early 73.
One juror was seated this afternoon as jury selection began in the 4th District Criminal Court in Fort Worth. Michael Joseph Paprskar, one of 5 persons charged in connection with the fatal shooting of 3 members of the Ramirez family, will be tried first. The state is seeking the death penalty against the 29-year-old motorcycle shop owner. Paprskar is charged with the slayings of Daniel Ramirez Sr., his 4-year-old son, Daniel Jr., and Sammy Ramirez Jr. 2 brothers, the 2 Anderson brothers, Harold Anderson and Danny Anderson, along with Papaskar's wife, Bunny, are also charged with the murders. The slayings allegedly took place after Daniel Ramirez Sr. sold Michael Paprskar some impure heroin. The jury selection is expected to take at least 2 more days. Cochise Cash, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.